Are you collecting reserve list Magic cards? Hey guys, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. And if you've somehow found me out there in the cyber universe of YouTube, thanks a lot for checking out my content today. I really hope everyone enjoys it. You know, when it comes to reserve list collecting, new players in Magic at this point, this day and age, usually it takes a while for them to hear about the reserve list, the awesomeness that is the old cards that are out there. And for a lot of us old school players who happen to have these cards, they weren't valuable when we started. We started collecting. We had a blast. You know, on the weekend here, I was going over my collection. I was looking at some awesome cards. And I realized, some of these cards I have bought over the years. Other cards I have not. But when I started buying, I didn't buy them because I thought they were the coolest cards ever. I bought them for decks. I bought them for uses. I still do that to this day with Modern, Commander, other formats I'm playing in. But when it comes to the reserve list now, unlike those other formats, any reserve list card that I go to sell, I think twice before I sell it. 3 times, 4 times before I sell it. Which is probably why I have not sold any reserve list cards in well over a year. I looked at my collection and I realized how hard these cards are to get. How difficult it would be to try to replace these cards as I go. It just won't be possible in the future. So if you are a reserve list collector, let me start off our conversation today by saying, good for you. Good for us. Good for those who collect the reserve list. Dual lands, maybe that's your thing. Maybe it's Power Knight. Maybe it is a simple collection of something like Fallen Empires. You can get a complete set for less than $300 still. There's a lot of reserve list cards in there. Those cards used to be worthless, and they're slowly rising in value. Just like everything on the reserve list. You know, the more we start talking about the numbered cards coming out in the new Magic sets coming up, be it a common, an uncommon, a rare, a mythic, however Wizards decides to do it, there will inevitably be some conversation of how it relates back to the reserve list. So I wanted to talk about that. Will numbered cards be collectible? To a certain segment of the population, I absolutely agree. There will be people just dying to get their hands on these particular cards. They just can't help it. They're going to be like, this is awesome. There's only 100 of these. There's only 1,000 of these. There's only 50,000 of these. All of those print runs, even if there was 1 of 50,000, right? So there's 50,000 cards made. That is still far less than, say, Thrall Champion at 424,000, right? It'd be less than the original print run. But here's the difference. Here's where the real kicker will come in. Those numbered cards are being brought into an age where people know they will be collectible. It's like a collectible tin at a store. You know it says collectible tin at a store. You're going to keep it in good shape. It's going to sit on a shelf, dust-free, being protected. Which means those 50,000 are probably all going to stay in pristine condition. They're all going to stay happy. They're never going to move. Let's go back to that reserve list. We didn't know the reserve list was worth money. The attrition rate really is truly unknown. The data and the stuff I've been collecting in the last 6 months has told me it is way worse than what people realize. It is Armageddon worse on how many cards are left in the reserve list. Remember, if you're a reserve list collector, good for you. It's kind of scary to realize how few of these cards are actually still out there in circulation, but it is very, very low. And people are having a hard time grasping it at times when they send me the emails saying, what do you mean? Like, how low is it really? Nobody really knows. Even I don't know. As we collect data, as people send me their stats and figures and photos, and I compile the information, remember, that's only the people who happen to see my channel. That's only the people who happen to email and figure it's worth their while to build that database. You still won't know all the other people who've got cardboard boxes in basements. They've got stuff up in the attic or wherever else those Magic cards may be. It could be in a toter at home for all I know. It could be in an old binder sitting on a shelf. But chances are none of those cards are coming back onto the market. And that's why the attrition rate always, I assume now, gets taken at 50% or higher. Because as cards leave the market, you realize how few they really are. When a small channel decides to do a small little fun buyout or have some fun on it, you realize how few cards are left out there after a weekend of buying. And I'm not talking tens of thousands of dollars. I'm talking a couple $100 on some low-end reserve list cards. It gets pretty scary. So when these numbered cards are out there, they are going to have value. But remember to assume that everyone else who has one is going to keep it in pristine condition. Where reserve list cards, being as collectible and awesome as they are, let's face it, there's a lot less of them. Finding a near mint quality one is that much harder. Light play, moderate play become kind of like the battle of the day. Those are the cards you're most likely to find. Because now we collect them, now we recognize that value. After years of the game being out there and cards being beaten up without sleeves that didn't exist back then, really, this is where we are. This is where the game has led us. The reserve list is an amazing thing. It is the cornerstone of how Magic has developed and created forward in the system of Magic the Gathering. It is that building block in the basement that is the rock of everything else. And that collecting that we do ensures Wizards says, hey, this is an okay thing. There are a lot of people like these old cards. And they develop things based on that. If nobody ever played Black Lotus, you think Jeweled Lotus would exist? If Moxes weren't such an awesome card, would they have all the other Moxes we've seen today? No. You wouldn't have Magnus of the Moat if Moat wasn't such a cool card. Those are the cornerstone things that Wizards builds off of. And as the reserve list becomes rarer and rarer to find the cards, and as these $2, $3 low-end reserve list cards do get bought up, they are being bought every day, you will see how valuable they can be in the future, because a lot of people are not satisfied with having 1 or 2 copies. I usually go with anything I like to have at least a play set of. That way if I have to move them into decks, I can do it. Maybe 5 if I want to have a commander deck with it. But there are some people out there who have literally hundreds and hundreds of copies of low-end reserve list cards because they like collecting them. They like to stack them together. They like to say, hey, look at this. I have an entire long box, and it is filled with those cards. I have 1,000 Fungal Blooms. I've got 5,000 Elvish Farmers. Whatever it may be. That's the route some people choose to go. And let's face it, anyone can do whatever they want. It's their money, right? This is not a finance channel. This is an entertainment channel. But I like to buy these cards, and I tell you guys about what cards I'm buying and what cards I think are just cool cards. And when I look at my collection on a weekend, when I play with some friends, and we're just flipping through some binders, going over some memories and nostalgia, I am proud that I collect the reserve list. I'm proud that I get to talk to you guys out there about reserve list cards and other Magic the Gathering topics. It's amazing. But now when I factor in the numbered cards scenario, I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. There are going to be players out there who love it. It's going to drive down the price for other players. But there'll be a whole bunch of us over here going, it doesn't matter about those numbered cards. Because I'm still collecting the reserve list. And the reserve list is going to keep pumping me up and giving me awesomeness every day as I buy one card here or one card there. Every paycheck, $15 here, $15 there. Buy another near mint Thrall champion. Maybe I pick up a Soldevi Excavations. Hey, we saw what happened with the Lodestone Bauble. Any low-end reserve list card can become a huge thing later on. So if you're new to this channel, if you're somehow finding it and you want to buy some low-end reserve list cards, go ahead. Who cares? What's $5 here, $5 there? It can sit in a binder. And if nothing happens, you didn't lose anything. But if something does happen with that card, you'll be pretty happy you bought that low-end reserve list card, which is not low-end anymore. Maybe it's medium. Maybe it's high. Maybe it hits $1,000. Tolarian Academy getting unbanned. Imagine if that happens. Imagine what that card would become. Just like when cards like Time Vault were unbanned, it went from being like a $20 card all the way back up to where it is now in the thousands, right? That's what happens. And it can happen. That's the best part. Those numbered cards probably will never see play. They'll probably sit there on somebody's shelf. Somebody's going to try to collect a whole set. It is awesome. But the reserve list that I collect, I still play with. The reserve list that I collect every week, and I put some in my Patreon box, and I put some in the backdrop for you guys, those cards aren't coming back to market. Just like Rudy Alpha Investments, just when you see those cards coming and going, you realize he's got a vault. And that vault has a lot of cards in it. Right? And they don't really see the light of day. They just slowly drift away from the market. They slowly get bought out because unlike most of the real market out there, where there are millions and millions of shares, this is a very finite market. And there is not millions and millions of cards out there for people to buy. It is a tight market with a very low amount of print run cards available to purchase. And every year, A few more drift out of that lake, a few more drift out of that ocean, a few more drift out of that river of Magic reserve list cards, and there's a few less for everybody else. Can't say it's not awesome. I can't say it's not fair. It's the way it's going to be, and there's nothing anybody can do about it because the reserve list isn't going anywhere. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Remember, if you're a reserve list collector, good for you. I'm proud to be one too. Hey guys, a big shout out goes out to each and every one of my amazing patron supporters who keep this channel flowing and juicing up. Thanks a lot, patrons. You are amazing, unique people, and you help my channel. You're the ones who make this happen. Thanks again, everyone. It's kind of crazy. Sitting here, drinking the morning coffee, talking with you guys at what, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. It's awesome. Reserve list is wicked. Can't wait to buy more after Christmas. That will be my Christmas gift. And by the way, if you're watching this end credit this late into the video, congratulations, because guess what I'm going to tell you? There might be a surprise coming. There might be a surprise coming. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there could be a surprise coming. Have to wait and see how all the taxes work out. But, well, I don't want to ruin the surprise. Yeah, yeah.